Hello everyone. Welcome to the Blockchain News Club. Today we have some interesting development on Gary Gensler and the SEC's overreach of power. Hester Peirce, U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission Commissioner, talked about why she thinks the government hasn't made clear rules for the crypto space yet.
I think in the crypto area, it is complicated because there are some things that clearly fall within our jurisdiction. There are other things that we probably need to get congressional directive from, and Congress may decide that the SEC is not the right regulator for some or all of crypto, and so that is necessary for us to understand as well. But we could have laid the groundwork, and we could have gone to Congress and said, look, here's what we think we have authority over, here's where we think we need clear authority, more clear authority, or we need additional authority. And we could have done that jointly with the CFTC, which I think would have been particularly productive. But instead, we've all been bringing enforcement actions and not really sat down and had those important conversations.
Even though Peirce is one of the 5 SEC commissioners, she has always been in favor of cryptocurrencies and has often criticized the SEC's actions to enforce the law. Fox Business reporter Eleanor Tourette said last year that a close source at the SEC told her that the commissioner said the SEC would lose its case against Ripple. Albert Isola, Minister for Digital and Financial Services for the Government of Gibraltar, spoke about SEC and the Ripple lawsuit. Let's listen to it.
For me, this event that you're hosting, Olga, this morning is about smart regulation. And the United States is teaching us exactly how not to do it. We still have a piece of legislation from 1946, which determines what a security is. And we're calling that interpretation and adapting it to a digital asset. You've got to be bonkers if you think that sort of framework is going to give any firm and any business any degree of certainty or security as to how they can manage their businesses. And therefore, that's why this event is focusing on smart regulation, because I believe that the US takes the view that when something is big enough, then it's going to move in and do things to it, which nobody knows where they're going to come from, why they're going to come for it. And the whole thinking behind the regulatory action, in my view, should be when you're breaching something. And I don't see that in the United States. And so I think the sooner that they get to grips with actually deciding who's going to regulate this space, how they're going to regulate this space, and why they're going to regulate this space, the whole blockchain space and the whole crypto area will dramatically grow as a result of that certainty, because that's what firms are crying out for. So when firms come to Gibraltar, they want to know that they're coming here for certainty. You've got a legal framework, you know what you have to do, you know which hoops you have to jump through, you know what you have to do to stay on the right side of the law. That is a framework that gives people the certainty to be able to confidently invest and grow their businesses. And so the Ripple case, the Telegram case, and unfortunately there'll probably be a few more firms very worried looking over their shoulders as to if they're going to get the call or not, for me stems from this lack of regulation. And that is what, I pull the little hair I got left at, worrying about why we are in this position and why the US doesn't do what it should do, which is lead.
The world is looking for the U.S. to lead the crypto regulations. Thomas Earl Emmer Jr. is an American attorney and politician serving as the House Majority Whip since 2023 and the U.S. Representative for Minnesota's 6th Congressional District since 2015. Emmer wants to make sure that regulations don't get in the way of this new stuff of crypto. What will happen next with Congress's laws is probably the most important question about crypto in 2023, and Emmer is at the head of the policy pack. But he didn't want to talk about his plan because I don't want to step on the toes of Patrick McHenry, who is going to be chair of the Financial Services Committee. But he did tell us a few important things. He says, in reference to the FTX meltdown, I think there will be a lot of bipartisan work to find out why the Securities and Exchange Commission wasn't doing its job. What did Gary Gensler and the rest of the group really do? He says that Gensler is very cocky and talks from the mountaintop. Then, he says, we find out that they're working with a crook who swindled people out of billions of dollars. Both Republicans and Democrats will be a part of that. What about the law? Emmer says, we're going to focus on the law, and I think it will be to put important guardrails around the industry. Guardrails for the market structure. Stablecoin safety nets. Such as that. He is happy to talk about what laws he doesn't want to see passed. The bill they tried to pass last fall, the Digital Commodity Consumer Protection Act, is not the answer, says Emmer. And what about Senator Maxine Waters' bill to make stable coins? Emmer says, that's a hard no. The US government shouldn't be in the business of digital dollars. Neither the US Treasury nor the Federal Reserve should be in the business of banking for private people. Let's take a look at what Tom Emmer said about Gary Gensler and the SEC.
Here's the problem. The SEC isn't interested in clarifying what areas of the crypto industry fall under SEC jurisdiction. We know that because FinHub, that you've referred to, the SEC division focused on crafting crypto regulation, has essentially dissolved under Gensler. Nonetheless, while abandoning good faith attempts to clarify how the Commission's existing authority applies to digital assets, the SEC is hell-bent on expanding the size of its crypto enforcement division and using enforcement to unconstitutionally expand its jurisdiction. Under Chair Gensler, the SEC has become a power-hungry regulator, politicizing enforcement, baiting companies to, quote, come in and talk to the Commission, then hitting them with enforcement actions and discouraging good faith cooperation. Understand, sir, there is a new day coming. Thank you. I yield back.
Gensler has killed the crypto game in this country. The SEC's attack on our capital markets could cause the U.S. economy to collapse. Hester Peirce and Phil Gramm make it very clear that Gary Gensler's radical agenda not only goes way beyond what he is allowed to do, but also puts our economic recovery at risk. When the financial crisis ended in the summer of 2009, most economists agreed that the Obama administration's regulatory policies would lead to a strong, long-lasting recovery. Instead, these policies stifled the recovery and made it the weakest since the Great Depression. Now that the economy is expected to go into a recession, the regulatory tsunami is becoming much worse than it was after the financial crisis. Nowhere is this more clear than at the Securities and Exchange Commission. The SEC has an important job to do, but only a few securities laws give it the power to stop market abuses and fraud and make sure investors have all the information they need to make their own investment decisions. As President Franklin D. Roosevelt said when he signed the Securities Act of 1933, it isn't a guarantee that people won't make mistakes. No government is there to do that. It does, however, show that the federal government will insist on knowing the facts, which are the only thing that can be used to make a decision. But the SEC wants to replace investors, corporate directors, and managers' decisions with its own. Its most recent set of proposed rules, many of which go beyond what is required by law, don't do much to stop abuse or make things more clear. The SEC now tells businesses how to run themselves, and investors have to put money into the process. The SEC is breaking down an important barrier in our market-based economy between the limited and legally limited roles of the public sector and the private sector's role as the main driver of American prosperity. Consider the Commission's proposal about climate change. It wants to make sure that climate risk is at the center of all public companies' boardroom and management discussions. It would force companies to add climate experts to their boards and management teams and shift the focus of their business and financial plans away from growing their market share and profits and toward plans to move to a lower carbon economy. Meanwhile, the crypto business in the United States remains in uncertainty due to a lack of clear regulations. Consumers are being forced into using foreign platforms that are not subject to any kind of regulation by the United States because of this uncertainty. To maintain reliable actors on home soil, the United States can set an example by cooperating with ethical businesses. Even while there are many grounds in support of Ripple's success, the result of the legal fight with the XRP community remains on a knife's edge. Ripple's general manager, Stuart Alderoty, stated in a recent blog post that he is hopeful for a successful conclusion to the experiment in the second quarter of 2023. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe for regular updates in the blockchain community.